Hey guys, welcome back to Buckskin Lumber Company. Today, we're knocking on the door of a 1 year of using the Woodland Mills HM126. We're gonna go over some modifications that we've made to the mill, a few of the minor issues that we've seen with this mill, and kind of give you our overall opinion and review of the Woodland Mills HM126. So let's get after it. So we're gonna start with all the add-ons that we put onto this mill. Things that some of them can be purchased as directly from Woodland Mills. However, we went other ways to try and cheapen up our costs because, well, things are expensive these days and shipping is outrageous. So number one is the lasers add-ons. We went with the Borghuis Instruments Sawmill laser. And this is actually an Amazon adjustable bracket over here. I think it costs $24. The dueling laser system, check out our video down below on the actual review. But let's get in close and I'll show you guys how I installed that. On the Amazon side, Amazon bracket side, this is actually a Borghuis laser on an Amazon bracket. We just come right up and we go right in to our battery system. We actually have a solar panel, just a little trickler that you can get at most any local auto parts store or on Amazon, that runs down and ties into our battery right there. That's another one of our little add-ons. Okay, we threw a switch on. We can control both lights right there. This is just a 7 amp hour battery. Pretty simple system. We ran our wires through behind the motor for this side. Kind of attached everything off with these sticky zip ties. Sometimes they held, sometimes they didn't. And we ran it around over here and attached it to that one. The next non-factory add-on that we put was actually just a chainsaw filter in the top of our breather tube. I constantly hear people having problems with the valve right here. In a year's time, with a lot of sawdust and stuff floating around here, we have not had a single issue because we installed this little filter. When we're cutting, guys, it's really nice to know just how fast your blade is operating. And without having an RPM gauge put somewhere on there, the second best, or actually the best way to know that is the RPMs of your engine. So we actually put a tachometer right up here. We'll bring you in close. We just bought it on Amazon and it tells you your hours, and when it's running, it'll actually tell you the RPM. That's right. I forgot about that. It's got to be running. So you guys can score those on Amazon. I want to say they're like 15 bucks, maybe $18. Not anything big and fancy. A good way of telling you whether your blade's getting dull or not. If it drops below a certain amount of RPMs, you know that your blade's ready for a swap. One big thing that we had an issue with, and we see a lot of other people have it, is the dust. The sawdust just piles up, makes a big old mess. I like to collect mine in a 5-gallon bucket, which I'll hang right on this. My neighbor actually printed this off. It's a 3D printed one. It's a free file. That being said, I've got some issues with it, and I'll bring it in real quick. I'm going to do a whole video on this. It'll be coming soon, as to why I recommend going with the Dust Buster from Odell Designs. They took this, modified it basically to their needs, and I think that's just an overall better system than what I have here. But this one works after the modifications I had to make to my mill. So check out that video on the full description. But a dust chute to be able to hang a bucket on, or to actually just make the dust pile up better, is definitely a great add-on for your mill. So the most recent add-on that I actually did to my mill is because something I learned, and you'll see in this picture right here, that the spacing from your actual log stops here doesn't allow you to cut to full width of the throat from guide to guide. And so we had to add on this one and this one, and that gives us a full 3 inches more to the max extent, which is 24 inches from guide to guide. And that, by installing these, allows us to move our log stops back and gain that full cant width of sawing capability. You can see the extra room that we have here. So with some simple 2x2 angle iron, we were able to extend our track 4 feet. That allows us to use this last bunk We also just took and modified our own bunk here to accommodate the proper height, shot our laser level across it, and we know that this is a good option. This is just a chunk of 2x2 square tubing, and then a chunk of flat 1/4 inch by 2 inch to brace the two together. Now here's where it gets a little bit complicated. A normal piece of angle iron does not match the rail flatness on the top, okay? So what we did was, luckily we have a friend who has a mill. And by that, I mean, not a sawmill, a machining mill. And so he was able to take and knock off the rounded edge that normal angle iron has, and you can see it in this picture. And that allowed our surfaces to match up cleanly between the rail and the angle iron. If you look at your angle iron here, you will see that it is almost perfectly flat, and then your guide wheels on the sawmill head will actually start to round that down just a little bit. So we kind of met in the middle. We flattened that off just a little bit, and the transition between the two is on point. So what this really allows us to do is to use the full extent of the bunks for cutting, okay? We don't really plan on cutting all the way out to here all the time, but now we can. I'm actually cutting some 20-foot sticks for a car trailer on this mill now, and it allows me to get the full 20-foot cut. You will see the transition right here. Notice you can't hear that. Just like transitioning between the factory rails. But normally we would stop right about there. And so your log, if you had it sitting here, this is as far as you could cut. And realistically, all that we need to do is to be able to get to right there. But having all this extra dead space, it's like, why not go ahead and use it and throw an extra bunk out here, right? Because now we can make that cut. Now, one thing we are going to do is we are going to mimic this on the other side of the mill. We haven't got there yet. I have the materials to do it. It's just time. If I just worked on it instead of making this video to share with you guys, I would totally have it done. But the real kicker is my slab stack over there is right in the way. So I got to get it all cut up, put up for firewood, and then I will get the extension put on there. That's going to allow me to mill 24 foot. The total cost of this steel, these 2x2 pieces I had laying around, you will actually see on my slab flattener that I actually can mount onto my mill. That's where I cut these pieces off of. But that's only 1/8 inch thick, 2x2 across there. So I'm at total into this extension for a total of 8 feet of extension on my sawmill for less than $200. This does not come with the log clamps and everything like the extension does from the factory, but one extension from Woodland Mills is $475. If you're questioning whether or not you can build this, I highly recommend just getting them from them. The spring sale is always a great time. Catch one of their free shipping or go pick it up from a distribution center on your own. Very, very well put together system that matches right up, and you don't have to do the different measuring and stuff that I did here. Well, sometimes things just sit right in front of your face, but Woodland Mills sells a tow board. It is a phenomenal tow board. Me, I'm just a cheap ass. So I took a couple pieces of unistrut, mounted a old pancake jack, scissor jack, whatever you want to call it. Slides back and forth. I can jack up the log as I need to based on my lasers to center the pith. And it actually works really well. It also doubles as another item. When I flip it over, the holes in the unistrut double as something to shove my cant hook or my PV into and push to move the log over, saving my back. So the final add-on that I have here, and it's not complete yet. By that, I mean I got to figure out exactly how I want to route my wires. This is a VVOR 12-volt, 4,500 pound trailer jack. Okay, I hook it to my little battery, and I have the power. It's not super quick, but it's quick enough. It's about the same speed as what I would crank if I just was cranking like this. up and down, obviously a little bit faster on the downside. I'm only $107 into this. My fabrication consists of a 2-inch chunk of flat bar that I welded to the mounting piece that comes off of the trailer. You know, if you had a trailer jack, it's just going to continue down. I've seen a lot of guys tear off the Woodland Mills system completely and attach the end of the pulleys to the end of the trailer jack. But I really wanted to keep the factory system as much intact as possible. It's less adjustments. I've already fixed all that stuff. It's just a lot simpler system if you can leave the factory stuff there. And this head, like I said, it was a chop saw. I cut it to the length that I wanted right here. And welded it to that plate that bolts right up, drilled 2 holes, and everything just jived really, really well. That being said, Woodland Mills sells power heads, guys. Highly recommend, if you're not into fabricating at all, to just go on ahead and buy it from them, because it's a bolt-on option. Super simple. Great reliability with no issues. I mounted some camera mounts. We got, you know, different places. That's how I get the video for you guys. Now, let's go right into some of the issues that we've had with this sawmill. The next issue here, guys, I've already shown you my fix for it, and that was adding the new log stop brackets. But I want to bring this real close for you to be able to see exactly what's going on. We are straight in line with the mill here, and you can see that this stake pocket is 3 inches to the right of that guide. So what we did was we extended a bracket off of a chunk of angle iron. We bolted it to the bunk so that we weren't trying to grind paint off and re-weld it. And then, you know, we welded to there. We put our little stopper hot rod in there in case we want to use one of those. And one issue with this mount system is that your log stop hits that right there. So we're going to modify a couple of our log stops so that they don't actually, they will sit down flush where a cant butts right up to it. And we can get that down to our 3/4 inch cut that when the saw head sits almost on the bump. We're not sure if you guys seen the short yet or not, but what we found was that this exhaust port was pointed right down, and it caused discoloration of our valve covers. And I know that has a tendency to cook oil. All we did was rotate this, guys. It's super simple. There's 2 screws. Rotate it till they line up. We actually have it pushing out this way, and it does kind of push the sawdust away from the head during operation. It's pretty good, simple fix. So aside from those 2 little minor issues, you know, the exhaust port and the throat width not matching the bunks, this has been a solid mill, guys. I have had no issues, knock on wood. Been very reliable, starts up super consistently, and just runs very, very well. I know some very common issues that people have been talking about is the throttle cable breaks. I believe that they're not adjusting it correctly, and they're having to jam it down, and they're just putting too much tension on it. And then the springs breaking. Springs are just garbage, guys. Like, they're gonna wear out. You know, certain types of metal. You know, I know you can go down to your local hardware store usually and just pick up a new spring for it, or you can actually just pull the tail out and put a new hook in it and run it. You know, it's not a deal breaker in my opinion at all. One thing, another quick thing, is I kind of quit using the stops there. I use the Gustaf Guards, and when I don't use the Gustaf Guards, I really try and use my laser, and sometimes that backfires on me, as you can see in my ouch video. But aside from that, this has been an overall great mill, and I would 100% make this purchase over and over and over again. That being said, guys, get out, get some milling done, and if you ever question whether or not you're going to need an HM122 or an HM126 or an HM130, save up the money and buy the little bit bigger mill.